What's up everybody, I'm Seth Fowler and this is Sit or Sell, your guide to the upcoming sneaker releases over the next couple weeks. And in today's episode, we are talking about some of the hyped up sneaker releases in the first half of March 2022. So if you're not familiar with this series, basically what we do is we take a look at most of the upcoming sneaker releases for a given period of time. I talk about each one of these releases, what I think about each one of them, and whether I think each one will sit on shelves or sell out instantly. But it looks like in this first 2 to 3 week period of March, we're not only getting some decent Jordan brand releases, we're also getting like 7 different Yeezy releases. Apparently Adidas and Kanye decided to ramp things up and I'm here for it. So I guess without further ado, let's get right into things on March 1st. The first drop of the month comes in 2 different colorways, and that's the Air Force One Boot NN. So the 2 colorways that are dropping are the brown kelp colorway and the dark smoke colorway, and both of these shoes are a boot version of the Air Force Ones, as you probably guessed from the name of the shoe. But I feel like it's important to ask the question, do we need a boot version of the Air Force One? And for me, the answer is no. That being said, there are some things that I do like about these boots. The first is that they're both made with 20% recycled materials. Although it's not a huge percentage of the actual shoe, it is nice to see Nike working towards sustainability, even if it's just more of a marketing thing than anything else. I'm still down with it. And honestly, it looks like a very durable and very winterized sort of boot. I mean, I'm sure it'd be great, if we weren't near the end of winter at this point, so I'm kind of surprised that they're dropping it now and not a couple months ago when it would have made more sense. But hey, you know what? I guess it doesn't bother me too much. What bothers me is when Nike drops a Halloween sneaker like on the day of Halloween, so you can't actually wear it on Halloween, or maybe like a month after like they did last year, where you just have to wait until next year. That stuff sort of bothers me, at least with this shoe. There might be some more snows or something depending on where you live, so it could be sort of useful. Who knows? Another sticking point for me is that both of these shoes retail for $180, which I guess makes sense because it's more of a boot than an Air Force One, but it's still weird to pay $180 for an Air Force One. And also, you know what, the more that I look at this shoe, the less it looks like an Air Force One. I guess I see the overall silhouette and some of the paneling, but it's a weird shoe that I don't think that many people are going to be excited for, and for that reason, I'm giving both of these Air Force One Boot NNs a sit. Moving on to March 3rd, which is actually this Thursday, I'm doing a Whatnot live stream. Over the last couple months, I've accumulated way more sneakers than I possibly could need, even more so than usual, and so because of that, I'm selling a lot of the sneakers from my own personal collection on Whatnot this Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you guys want to check out that live stream and grab some of the sneakers in my collection, make sure to sign up for Whatnot using that link, and I believe it actually also gives you $10 towards your first purchase on Whatnot. So if you guys want to check that out, I'll be streaming live at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday the 3rd on Whatnot. Also dropping on the 3rd before the live stream, we've actually got the NewBalance.com release of the Jown New Balance 990 V3s. So this shoe had its first release, I believe, at the end of last month, and that release sold out instantly. And it looks like this time around, this release is not going to be any different. And even though there might be a little bit more stock than there was last time, I feel like the demand has just gone up since then. And as a New Balance fan, I am very excited about this drop. I tried to grab the Jown New Balance 990 V3s on the last drop. I'm going to try again on this drop, but knowing the, I guess, New Balance hype that's been growing recently, I feel like my chances of grabbing a pair are almost impossible. But I've got to say that the colorway of this 990 V3, the Jown colorway, is incredibly clean. I love the sort of dusty olive color, if that's what you want to call it. It also features some nice tan hits on the midsole, and overall, it's an incredibly wearable 990 V3. And like I said earlier, this release will be very difficult to get. First of all, New Balance hype is at the highest level it's ever been. This shoe is probably pretty limited, and Jown collaborations tend to go for a lot of money. So for that reason, I definitely see this shoe selling out instantly. Also dropping on March 3rd, we've got Drake's latest collaboration with Nike, the Nocta Nike Hot Step Air Terra. So this shoe is definitely an interesting new direction for Drake when it comes to his Nike collaborations. This shoe comes in a very retro-inspired white leather upper, accented by a white midsole with an air unit in the heel. And what's crazy about this shoe is how different it is from any of his other previous Nike collaborations. Granted, those were primarily Jordan brand collaborations, but this time around he's creating his own version of a silhouette, and it looks kind of wild. Now the sneaker is partially inspired and has parts taken from the Nike ACG line, in addition to having a very 1990s aesthetic, but it's something that I don't think anyone expected from Drake. Also, overall, the shoe has a very toned down look. It's actually a completely different approach to sneaker design than what Kanye is doing at Adidas, or even what Travis Scott is doing with Jordan brand. And I'm also very interested to see how the public responds to this shoe when they actually get it in hand. I've seen a lot of hate for this shoe online, but hey, you know what? Maybe once people get it in hand, they'll like it a lot more. Who knows? That being said, it is a Nike Nocta collaboration, and for that reason, I definitely see this shoe selling out. And then rounding off March 3rd, we've got a late addition to this list with the brand new upcoming Supreme Nike Dunk High collaboration. I actually didn't know these shoes were dropping until about 2 minutes ago when I was halfway through filming this video. It looks like 3 different colorways of the Supreme Nike Dunk Highs are dropping on Supreme's website this Thursday on March 3rd, and these 3 colorways come in a black and white, a green and yellow, and a blue and red. Now, in addition to some of the classic Nike Dunk color blocking, it looks like each one of these 3 colorways feature the words "by any means necessary" embroidered around the heel. And actually looking closer, it looks like on the heel of the shoe, the NY part of any is actually made up of the Nike NY logo, which makes sense because Supreme is based in New York. And then in another kind of interesting detail, it looks like towards the forefoot of the shoe, you have the word "no" printed above a little heart, which I'm assuming means no love. And all around, I've got to say, out of every Supreme Nike collaboration that's dropped over the last couple years, this might be my favorite. Maybe it's because it looks just like a regular Nike Dunk and I like Nike Dunks, but it's kind of fire. Would I pay more than retail for any of these? Probably not, unless I was trying to get a review out of them. But that being said, I think a lot of people are going to be very excited about these when they actually find out about these. I literally just found out about them, so it's possible that not many people know right now. And I guess out of the 3 colorways, I'm leaning most towards the black and white colorway. I would assume that would be the most popular colorway because it's the easiest to rock, but all the colorways aren't bad. I think the Brazil version of the shoe or the yellow and green version of the shoe might be the least popular, but who knows? And again, as of right now, it looks like all 3 of these Supreme Nike Dunk Highs are dropping on Supreme's website on Thursday, March 3rd. And of course, you should know by this point, but any Supreme Nike collaboration, especially on a pair of sneakers, will absolutely sell out. Then moving on to March 4th, it looks like we've got 2 different colorways of the Adidas Forum Hi 84s dropping. These shoes come in a white and blue and a white and yellow makeup, and both feature aged details throughout, which honestly I find kind of tacky. You know, when it comes to the aged midsole aesthetic that a lot of brands have been doing recently, I don't mind it. I don't mind sail or cream colored midsoles. I actually think they look pretty clean. But when a brand goes ahead, like even designer brands, and throws paint on the shoe to make it look like it's dirtier than it actually is, it just feels a little try-hardy. I'm gonna be honest. I don't mind the way that these sneakers look, but for me it's a principle thing. I feel like it's a little bit too much. You know, if you want your sneakers to look dirty, just wear them. I feel like that's a pretty obvious solution to that problem. You know, maybe I'm just old school, I don't know. Personally, I'm a big fan of the Adidas Forums. I think it's a great sneaker. I love 80s basketball shoes. And while this sort of aged look isn't for me, the colorways themselves aren't bad. I have no idea how limited these shoes will be or if they will be limited. I would assume that they will be more limited than standard Adidas Forums, but I don't know if the hype is really there. And so for that reason, even though I think they're great sneakers and I think you should grab them if you like Adidas Forums, I think both of these shoes are probably going to sit. And then finishing off March 4th, we've got the Air Jordan 1 Low Golf UNC. So recently, Jordan Brand has been re-releasing some of the most popular Air Jordan 1 Low colorways in golf variants of the shoe. And what makes these shoes even more interesting is that unlike most of their other golf sneakers, these shoes don't feature cleats on the outsole. They just feature a slightly reworked rubber outsole, which is actually very wearable for normal day-to-day wear. And because of that, people are buying these shoes up like crazy because they're coming in classic Air Jordan 1 colorways, and they're willing to deal with that slightly different rubber outsole. It's not exactly a Jordan 1, but it looks like it. And so far, we've had some pretty insane colorways on these Air Jordan 1 Low Golfs, and it looks like Jordan Brand is continuing that sort of trend with the Air Jordan 1 Low Golf UNC, which is an incredibly popular colorway. And while personally, the Air Jordan 1 Low Golf isn't for me, I think it's a shoe that a lot of people are excited about because it allows them the opportunity to grab a classic colorway for retail, and because of that, I definitely see this shoe selling out. Continuing on to March 5th, we've got the Passport Nike Dunk High Work Boot. So this shoe is actually a really interesting collaboration. The shoe comes in sort of an olive and orangey yellow colorway, and it features what seems to be someone using the Nike logo as a shovel while working. But for me, what I really like about this shoe, besides the colorway, because I think the colorway is fire, is also the material choices. The green panels on the shoe come in suede, whereas the yellowy orangey panels come in ripstop, which actually pairs really nicely with the suede. And of course, because it's inspired by a work boot, it features work boot style eyelets at the top of the shoe as well as rope laces. It's an all-around very, very clean sneaker, but I'm sure this shoe will be very limited and probably only sold at skate stores, and so for that reason, I definitely see this shoe selling out. Also possibly dropping on the 5th, we've got the Adidas Yeezy Boost 350 V2 MX Blue. Now I say possibly because this shoe has not yet been confirmed to drop on the 5th yet. It says that it's dropping on the 5th on a couple different sneaker news sites, but that's it. Adidas hasn't confirmed it. Stores haven't confirmed it. I really don't know who's confirmed it and why they're getting these release dates for this particular day, but it seems like that's the day that they're all targeting, and for that reason I should report on it because it's very possible that it could be that day. As the name of the sneaker would suggest, this shoe features the mixed style upper, which means that you've got a bunch of different colors all sort of mixed together, or I guess marbled together in the prime knit upper. And it's actually a pretty clean looking blue Yeezy. We don't get a lot of blue 350 V2s, but this one, It's not a bad look. If you're into that sort of crazy marbled look on your 350 V2s and you like the color blue accented by what seems to be like a yellowish orange, then you're probably gonna love this shoe. And of course, because it's a Yeezy Boost 350 V2, this sneaker will definitely sell out. Then finishing off March 5th, we've got the Air Jordan 6 UNC. So this shoe actually had an early release on the sneakers app, I believe, during All-Star Weekend, and a lot of people were able to grab pairs. I unfortunately was not, although I did try, and it looks like this shoe is re-releasing or getting a much wider spread release on March 5th. The sneaker comes with a white leather upper accented by light blue or UNC colored nubuck, as well as a black and white midsole. And there's not really much to say about this shoe. It's a solid colorway of the Air Jordan 6. It features that kind of annoying tag thing on the heel, which I don't think anyone really likes, and overall, even though I don't think this colorway is going to be that limited, it's still a very clean colorway that a lot of people are going to like, and for that reason, I definitely see this shoe selling out. Moving on to March 7th, we've got the Nike LeBron 19 Low Magic Fruity Pebbles. So I think LeBron first debuted this new version of the LeBron 19s during the shoot-around before the All-Star Game. He actually didn't end up wearing the shoe for the All-Star Game, he wore the Big Bangs instead, but it's still nice to see a new version of the LeBron 19s coming out. And of course, with this shoe being the Magic Fruity Pebbles version of the shoe, this sneaker features red and yellow detailing underneath a white mesh. Now, according to Nike, this is one of the first Nike basketball shoes that actually feature color-changing elements. In fact, the air unit on the shoe changes from a blue to a purple. Apparently it's supposed to mimic the way that milk changes from red and yellow to purple when you eat Magic Fruity Pebbles. I guess that's kind of a cool detail, but it's interesting that only the air unit of the shoe is the part that actually changes color. That being said, I feel like the shoe just isn't really doing enough to become that special of a colorway. Back in like the 2010s or the early 2010s, players would be wearing the craziest colorways during the All-Star games, and then Nike would release these versions of the shoes to the public, and they would become some of the most sought-after sneakers available on the market. About 10 years later, things have kind of cooled down, and Nike basketball shoes just don't have the hype that they used to have, and it seems like they're trying to regain some of that with this sneaker, but it just doesn't do it for me, and I don't think it's going to do it for a lot of other people, and so for that reason, I think that these Nike LeBron 19 Lows will probably sit on shelves. Also dropping on March 7th, we've got 3 different colorways of the Adidas Yeezy slides. So this drop is kind of interesting because we're technically getting a restock of 2 colorways, and then we're also getting a brand new colorway. So the 2 colorways that are restocking are the Ochre colorway and the Pure colorway. Both colorways I love. I think the Ochres are my most worn, or one of my most worn pairs of shoes for the entire year, which is kind of nuts to think about. My wife has a pair of Pures, and I would love a chance to actually grab a pair of Pures in my size. But in addition to those 2 colorways restocking, we're also getting the very first black or onyx colored Yeezy slide. As you can see from this picture, this onyx Yeezy slide comes in an almost entirely black or very dark gray makeup, and overall it's probably going to become one of the most popular Yeezy slides because of how incredibly wearable this shoe actually is. I mean, seriously, a black slide, it's kind of mind-blowing that Yeezy never dropped one of these before. Now, while Yeezy slides are usually pretty well priced at retail, I think they go for like $60, unfortunately there's not usually that many pairs at release, and because of that, the resale prices of these shoes skyrocket like crazy. And also, it's kind of crazy to think, but the Yeezy foams and the Yeezy slides have become the most popular Yeezys available. I know like 4 years ago we would never have thought that was possible. In fact, 4 years ago I think we did have Yeezy slides. They weren't exactly these, they were a different version of it, but for some reason these foam Yeezys have become the most popular Yeezys available. And because of that, unfortunately, all 3 of these colorways will be very difficult to grab. So I'll just go for all 3 of them and I'll get what I'll get, but most likely that'll be nothing. So I'm not gonna hold my breath. And as you could probably tell, I definitely think these shoes will sell out. Continuing on to March 8th, we've got the Nike Offline Pack in cool gray. This shoe is inspired by puffy down jackets and apparently has something to do with unplugging and going camping or being separate from the digital world or something like that, which is interesting because Nike's really trying to get more involved in the digital world. I'm not sure exactly what the story is behind this sneaker, but either way, it's kind of a moccasin style thing that looks very puffy and honestly very comfortable. Now, last time I talked about the Offline Pack when it first released, I didn't think this shoe was going to sell out. It came out in 2 different colorways and I thought it was weird enough looking that people wouldn't be into it. But as we saw, both of those colorways sold out, and I think honestly, because this shoe is more of the same, people are just as hyped on it, and now I'm even more intrigued about this sneaker, so because of that, I think this shoe will also probably sell out. Also dropping on March 8th, we've got the women's Air Jordan 6 Mint Foam. So this shoe's colorway is very neutral. It features a white leather upper accented by light gray nubuck, as well as a very light minty colored midsole. And of course, as the name would suggest, this shoe only comes in women's sizing. Now, while I think the shoe is actually pretty clean, I like the colorway overall, it's not something that I would personally be that excited about if it dropped in men's sizing, and I'm also not sure how women feel about this shoe. I guess it depends on the person, but it's not something that I think will be overly popular. And it's also priced at $200, which I feel like is a lot for this sneaker. And so because of that and a couple other reasons, I think this shoe might actually sit on shelves. I mean, I think it's possible that this shoe could sell out online, like it might sell out on the sneakers app, but I also think it's very possible that you could walk into Foot Locker like a week after the release and still find pairs on shelves. Moving on to March 11th, we've got the Adidas Yeezy 350 V2 in the bone colorway. So I actually literally just reviewed this shoe, and in the time between when I reviewed the shoe and this video coming out, the name of the shoe is actually switched from Pure Oats to Bone. So I called it the Pure Oat throughout the entire video. I don't know, regardless, this is an all-white pair of 350 V2s. It features a semi-translucent stripe on the side. It's a very clean look, and it also features recycled materials in the upper. And it's really been a minute since we last got a triple white pair of Adidas Yeezy 350 V2s. It's a very clean look and one that I'd be definitely down to rock. Now, unfortunately, because triple white 350 V2s are incredibly popular, I'm sure this shoe will be very difficult to get. I don't know how limited this shoe is going to be, but I would hope that they'd produce more pairs of these because they probably know how popular it's going to be. But as I always say with 350 V2s, enter every raffle you can if you want the shoe. Enter on the Adidas Confirmed app, enter at your local stores, because this shoe is not going to be easy to get, and this shoe will definitely sell out. And then rounding off March 11th, we've got one of the most iconic colorways of the Air Jordan 12s, and that's the Air Jordan 12 Playoffs. So this shoe comes in a primarily black tumbled leather upper featuring a white mudguard and a white outsole, and like I said, is one of the most iconic Air Jordan 12s of all time. The things that Michael Jordan did in this shoe were crazy. That being said, even though I'm not that much of an Air Jordan 12 guy, I might still have to grab this shoe because of the history that's entwined in this colorway. But unfortunately, I feel like that's a sentiment for a lot of people, and a lot of people are going to be going for this shoe. So for that reason, I definitely think the Air Jordan 12 Playoffs, no matter how many pairs they release, will absolutely sell out and sell out very quickly. Moving on to March 12th, we've got the Reebok Question Mid Blue Toe. So I think the last time this shoe retroed was back in 2016, and it seems like this 2022 version of the shoe is almost identical. This Allen Iverson Classic features a primarily white upper with a tumbled blue leather toe. And even though Reebok Question Mids aren't as popular as they were when AI was playing ball, this shoe is definitely having a resurgence, and I think with the Sixers doing as well as they're doing, a lot of people are going to be trying to grab this shoe. So while I don't see this sneaker really selling out, it's still going to be definitely a popular release, and one that I think a lot of people will be going for. But like I said, I still think the sneaker is going to sit. Also dropping on March 12th, we've got the Oski Nike SB Dunk High Great White Shark. So this is actually the second colorway from this collaboration. I believe the first colorway came in all black, and that dropped in, I think, 2019. This time around, the shoe comes in an entirely white tumbled leather upper, and I think overall it's a very clean look. Obviously, the signature detail on the shoe is the shark that replaces the Nike swoosh, which I think a lot of people are probably into, but unfortunately, as with most Nike SB Dunks and just Nike Dunks in general, the demand for this shoe will be absolutely insane, and pairing that with the fact that this shoe will probably only release at skate shops means that this shoe will be incredibly difficult to get. And for that reason, I'm giving the Oski Nike SB Dunk High a sell. And then finally, rounding off all of the sneaker releases that we're covering in today's video, on March 14th, we've got the Adidas Yeezy Desert Boot in the rock colorway. So if you watched the last episode, you know that this shoe was apparently pushed back. This shoe is sort of a dark tan Adidas Yeezy Desert Boot. I believe it first released a couple years ago. This is just a restock of the sneaker, and even though it's not a brand new silhouette, it's still a shoe that a lot of people will be excited for. And with Yeezy sneaker hype peaking once again, I definitely see this Yeezy Desert Boot in the rock colorway selling out. But with that, we pretty much wrap up all of the sneaker releases in the first half of March 2022. Now, I would love to know your thoughts on these drops, so make sure to let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next one.